Notice I didn't mess up my makeup or my lipstick.
No, you didn't. And we're live. It's Melinda. How are you doing from Hope When There Was None? Coming on live with Cheryl. Oh my gosh, we're already laughing and giggling and having great conversation beforehand. I'm sorry you missed it, but we're going to have a really good conversation right now. I do have Cheryl. This ninja, I kid you not, I just got done reading her book. It's phenomenal.
Mm.
I encourage anybody that is rebuilding their life, any women, even men that are rebuilding their life after trauma, or maybe just some sort of difficulties, emotional traumas, read her book. And I have all her information and goodness. It's in the comment section, so you can find it there. I'll have it also, her banners, which I'm going to start putting on now. But let's talk about your story. Oh, I was on the edge of my seat, and it does have to do with trauma. And I cried along with you during the
Aw.
story, but I'm gonna let you take it away.
Thank you. Well, first of all, Melinda, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your kind words before the broadcast went live. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I have a story to tell. And it was a story that was probably, maybe 12 years in the making. And it's just I don't even know where would you like me to begin?
I guess the beginning, because what the
Okay.
ending is so, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but there was there was an assault that happened on your person.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
just I was so sad. And again, that was one I
Mhm.
told her I wanted to give her a hug. There was so many parts. I just wanted to give her some love and a hug and just take you away. There was an assault, but you didn't have support. The lack of
No.
support and the reactions from those in your circle that was supposed to be your tight support unit was horrifying. It really was. It
Thank you.
lack
It
of
really was.
none. That was. That was.
Yeah.
So if you could take me back to that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Well, at the age of 44, I walked into a doctor's office just for, routine, no big deal, routine check. And when I walked into the office, I was a healthy, vibrant 44-year-old woman. And when I walked out, I was a statistic.
Mm,
So, my point is, and my story is that predators are everywhere. We think that maybe, you would imagine going to the doctor's office, that would be one place that you would be safe. And that's not necessarily true. So, predators are not just hiding in dark corners and dark alleys, they are actually in our communities, they're in our churches, they're in our medical profession, they are our massage therapists, physical therapists, our local bookkeeper, they're
right.
everywhere. And it is our responsibility to have that sense of awareness of when you get that feeling that something isn't right, is to
Right.
grab your purse and run. And if you're concerned that people are going to think that you're being foolish or, just being stupid for, following your instincts, that's their problem. That's on them, not you.
Yes.
And one of the strangest things, and I know I didn't put this in the book, but when I walked into that office, this beautiful medical building, brand new building, and when I walked in, and of course, I'd never met this physician before. So you're a natural little butterflies, new person,
Right.
But hey, I'm a savvy person. I'm a medical person myself. But when I walked down that hallway and I had my hand on the door to walk through that door, I got a very strong sense of don't do it. Something's wrong here. Just walk away.
Oh, gosh.
And I know. And, you
I
know,
got goosebumps. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And I just had to have a little talk with myself. Don't be stupid. You're just nervous, blah, blah, blah. And you're exaggerating and you can't walk out now. You have to give 24-hour notice, whatever. So I walked through that door and that decision changed my life forever. And
Mm,
after it happened, of course, I was shocked and horrified. And I'm an action type of person. And so I wanted to take the right steps to, number one, report it, so it never happened to anybody else again. I was smart enough, even with that sense of what was going on inside my head. I knew that I wasn't the first woman that he did this to. I knew I would not be the last, but I wanted to make sure that there was a paper trail, that there was some kind of documentation to help protect other women. And then there was a sense of, I know he's done this before. Why didn't anybody else complain? Why didn't anybody else put that out there to help protect me? Well, it's not really that easy in the medical profession because they do protect their own. But anyway, so I did, the first step was to get help from my support system, my best and dearest friend of all the time, or all, from the time I was 21. And what I expected, her to be shocked and horrified and, okay, this is what we need to do, and these are the steps we need to take. Instead, I call it the Patton slapping, the General Patton just, slapping his soldiers across the face. And she just says, that can't possibly happen. Oh, you're just complaining. And, you're making it up. I mean, it went on. And I was just like, whoa, where's this coming from? So then I went to the next level. The next tier would be my husband. And I tried to tell him. And when I started to tell him, he just clapped his hands over his ears and he says, this is girl stuff. He says, you need to talk to Kathleen.
That surprised the heck out of me.
Yes.
That really did. I was so mad. It made me so mad. Oh.
Yes. And that just pulled the rug right out from underneath me. And I can tell you it, definitely put a strain on our relationship for a very long time. So then it was like, okay, if I can't even get the two of them to listen to me, I'm not going to go to the police, because I was going to, and, just file a complaint and stuff. I thought, if I can't get my husband and my best friend to listen to me, they're going to laugh me right out of the station. So I just had other people notice that there was something wrong with me. It was pretty obvious. I lost over 10 pounds in 2 weeks. You could see just in me that there was something really wrong. And of course, people would come up to me, well, especially in ballet class. I said in the book, I had recovering anorexics following me all over the ballet studio, to say, oh, when I was sick and I understand. And it's like, you have no idea, because when I tried to tell them thinking, well, maybe they could help me, it was like, oh, no, that can't happen. And it was just amazing the amount of marginalization, and just how I was dismissed and even denigrated, to the point where some people even said, oh, you're making it up, you're after the money, you're just lying. So you do what I understand now, why women don't report assault. So I did what I had to do. I just stuffed it deep down inside of me and pretended everything was fine, pasted a big old smile on my face, which, oh my God, my face and my teeth just ached from fake smiling. It was just terrible. And shortly after that happened, it was about 3 or 4 months after the incident, I met a new acupuncturist. This man was recommended to me from a client of mine, and I knew this client very well. This client was very picky, so I knew she wouldn't send me to just anybody. So, I hadn't been getting any massages or any body work. I didn't want anybody touching me. And so she told me that this guy, he was an acupuncturist, but he also did shiatsu, which, is like trigger point type of therapy. And she says, it feels so good. And of course, my poor little body was just a mess. I had pain everywhere. And I says, well, when they do this shiatsu stuff, do you get to keep your clothes on? And she says, oh, yeah. She says, your clothes are, and I'm like, okay, so maybe I can do this. So I go to this guy's office for my first visit, and he was doing some shiatsu, and he says, I could really help you even more by doing some acupuncture if you're open to that. And I'm like, oh, I love acupuncture, just haven't had it done in quite a while. So, he gave me a pair of shorts and a t-shirt to change into. So I'm lying on the table, and he starts putting needles in my legs. And as he's putting needles in my legs, he got a very far away look on his face, and he said, with your legs and my coaching, I could teach you how to kill with these things. And I thought, oh my God, who thinks like that, let alone says it out loud? This guy is insane. I need to grab my purse and run. Unfortunately, I had needles all over me. I was literally pinned to the table. I couldn't move unless I wanted to try running out the door with needles sticking out all over me. So he had a captive audience. So maybe his timing was, perfect. Maybe was it premeditated? I'll never know. We laugh about it still sometimes. So it's like, thanks anyway, but no, I'll save my killer legs for ballet class. I have no interest in martial arts. And he had a martial arts studio right next to his clinic. So it's like a little duplex. And I thought, this guy's really crazy, but I liked him. I felt comfortable with him. And so I kept going back to him. And every single time I went in for a treatment, he would start talking about the art of the ninja, this Nimpo Taijutsu, and how he would love for me to start taking some classes with him. He says, as a dancer, you'd be so good at it. And women are so good at this art. And I'm like, I have no interest in martial arts. There is no way I am ever going to study martial arts in my entire life. Forget it. Well, it was about a year later that I was re-triggered and everything just came spewing out of me. The dam broke, and it just got really bad. The PTSD. So out of desperation, I did tell Mark what happened. Because for some reason, I knew he would listen to me, and I knew he would not dismiss it. I just knew. So obviously, he took it very seriously, and he started treating me for some of the symptoms of the PTSD that I was experiencing. And then his campaign to get me on the mat and start training with him went into high gear. But I still kept saying no. I didn't understand how hanging out in a smelly dojo with a bunch of sweaty men was going to make me feel any better. But he kept telling me, he says, there is an incredible healing power in the martial arts. And I know it can help you. I would have loved one of those when I was going through all of that.
It was Mr. K. Yeah, sorry about that.
I just love it. It's just so precious. So anyway,
it feels good. It does. For those that are listening to the podcast, I'm getting a massage here from my youngest. I'm in my kitchen and shouldn't be, but internet's better down here today. And look at the reward.
And look at the rewards, and it's just so wonderful because all I can see are a little pair of hands.
That's all you can see is just a little pair of hands.
That came out of nowhere.
It did. It surprised me.
Well, and here it is. It's a week before Mother's Day, so he's just getting a head start on it.
He is. And there's Mr. Awesome. These guys are in rare form. Okay, we're talking about something serious, boys.
Well, and it is a serious subject. However, there is humor in it as well.
There is.
And along with the healing power of martial arts, the healing power of laughter, and even when you're at your lowest, and trying to see some of the humor in things is very powerful as well.
And that's the thing about your book too. As you're going through this roller coaster, then there's something that makes you laugh, or there's a situation that you found yourself in, and I'm giggling along with you. And I was sharing with Cheryl that it felt like her writing, it made me feel like we're just sitting across from each other. Like now, we're just having this conversation. So I'm going to encourage everybody, please get her book. It is just amazing. But the transformation that happened. So it wasn't overnight that you had this transformation, and you kind of went kicking and screaming through your training in those early days.
And not in a good way. Yes. Yes. So the funny things, so Mark kept trying to get me to try martial arts, come take some classes with me. And I kept saying no. So it took him 3 years, and I finally capitulated, and you can get more details in the book of how that happened. And basically my goal was to take a few classes, check, learn a few self-defense techniques, check, quit and get on with my life. Check. I'm thinking it's going to take me maybe a month, maybe 2 at the most, because, I had things to do, and I wasn't going to be spending any time in a smelly dojo that I didn't have to, because I knew I was going to hate it. I absolutely knew I was going to hate it. And, went in for my first class, and Mark assured me I didn't want to be the only woman in class. I knew martial arts, this was so far out of my comfort zone. And, ballerina, fussy girl. And this was just something that was not in my DNA or ever on my radar. And he goes, don't you worry. There are plenty of women in students, and they come to all the classes, and I know one of them would love to take you under her wing and teach you the art of the ninja, what it means to be a female ninja. So I show up for my first class, and not only am I the only woman in class, I am the only woman within like a 3-mile radius. I mean, and it's just wall to wall men, and a lot of them are upper belts. And then there's just me. And it was absolutely freaking terrifying.
Oh, I bet.
But I made it through the class, obviously, as you know. And there were some very funny scenes and stories in that first class. And when I got in my car and I started to drive home, I giggled the entire way home. And I hadn't giggled in a very long time. And there was just something about the energy that I was feeling, even though I had looked like a complete dork, and I thought all of the rituals that we had to do, all the bowing and the clapping and the raying in and raying out and all this stuff and the speaking Japanese, I thought was so silly. And I just thought it was the dumbest thing that I ever heard in my life. But I kept going back to class, and I didn't even know why. There was something that just kept drawing me in, and I was still terrified. And after about 3 months, one of the guys badgered me into testing for my yellow belt. And I'm like, whoa, you don't understand. I don't want a yellow belt. I didn't even want a white belt, but it came with the uniform, so I had to take it. I was never going to test. I never wanted to be a black belt. I just few techniques, get me out of here. So he talked me into testing for my first level, and I did. And I didn't cry or pee my pants during the test, so that was good, and I passed it. About 3 months later, same guy badgered me into taking my next level test, my 2nd degree yellow belt. I took it. Again, I passed, didn't cry or pee my pants. And then about 6 months later, I decided it was time to test again for my next level. No one had to badger me. Nobody had to push me. It was my idea. And that's when I realized how much this art was starting to impact me. And so, that's how it all started. And 10 years after that beautiful September day in 2003 that I stepped on the mat for the first time, 10 years later, I became my teacher's first female black belt. So in 20 years of teaching, he never had a woman achieve such a high rank. And it was the beaten up, broken down, terrified, timid, middle-aged princess that was the one that did it.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's a great story.
Yes, it is. I was cheering along with you. It's like, yes, she did it. Yes.
But there were definitely a lot of trials and tribulations and bumps in the road along the way, weren't there?
Yes, there was. There was quite a few. There was. I was definitely, like I said, literally on the edge of my seat throughout your book. There were tears of laughter, tears of sadness. But wow, that was phenomenal. And the healing that you did just, that blew me away. That really did. That really did. Wow.
Well, and I hope that that encourages other people, to understand that there's always a path to healing, and everybody's path is going to look a little bit different. And, for me, it was martial arts. I'm still shocked and still more surprised than anybody else is about that. But keep an open mind and keep looking for ways that might be able to help you heal. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but the power of this art in particular. So I believe there are no accidents, there are no coincidences. And this art, I never went looking for it, but it came looking for me. And once it found me, it wasn't going to let me go. And there was something about the art that was very seductive, that it would keep pulling me in. And the funniest thing about this art and the school that I'm in, because, everything had to be in perfect alignment, otherwise it wasn't going to happen.
Yes,
but being the only woman most of the time, the guys were so amazing, most of them. in how they would work with me. And once they finally realized that I was going to stick around for a while, and I realized that I had to kind of build relationships with these men, which was something really weird for me since I had been married at that point for 17 years and hadn't had male friends since college, except maybe some of the guys I took ballet class with, and it's not quite the same. And, when they would start calling me and saying, hey, you want to hang out, go to the dojo, do some extra training, it was a really big shock. And that was a big adjustment in how do I relate and communicate to these men, especially it's like the first time one of them called me, I hung up. Hey, you want to meet me this time? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. Bye. See ya. And he hung up. And I'm holding the phone going, oh my God, where's the drama? I had no idea that you could have a complete conversation in 30 seconds with a few monosyllables, grunts, and a see you at the end. And I thought, this is fantastic. So then I'm starting to tap into their, male energy and the uniqueness that, men are just, I get really upset when I hear all this men bashing or male bashing, because that's just not right. I mean, there's so many magnificent men in my life. I wouldn't be here talking to you if there weren't, and you understand and know the
I
same
understand.
way. Yes, you
Yes.
do. And then once they tapped into my feminine energy and my feminine spirit, they really played on that. And they helped me just develop and strengthen and grow the energy of the female ninja and the female warrior. And they taught me how to be more of a lady than, anybody else ever did, because nothing makes you feel more feminine and more sexy than being able to take down somebody twice your size and half your age, especially when you don't break a fingernail or smear your makeup.
Or smear you. That's what I was going to say. And that was one thing that made me laugh. It's like, don't mess up Cheryl's makeup.
Well, I had to establish some boundaries. And since that woman, I kept waiting for a strong, powerful woman to come
Yeah.
through that door who would be able to take the reins, take me under her wing, and be a mentor and an inspiration for other women. And, we could have this even a women's only class, and we could build this together. And I just kept waiting for that woman to show up. And until that day, I was on my own. So I had to make up the rules as I went along and tell the guys, okay, you can punch me, kick me, throw me, hit me, choke me, pin me to the floor, get on top of me. But for heaven's sake, do not mess up my makeup, because that will make me mad. So it was a big standing joke in the dojo. And, so would be in the middle of doing something, and all of a sudden, someone would scream, makeup. And it was like you're on a movie set and somebody's asking for the makeup team to come, because, it was like a face grab or something. So, I just have so many really great stories about, the guys in the dojo. I cannot say enough about them. Love them to death still to this day. And then, of course, there's Vanessa.
Yes, there is Vanessa.
We all love Vanessa.
I do. I love Vanessa. And I was sharing with Cheryl. It's like I would be her best friend. We would all be best friends, me and Vanessa and Cheryl, if I lived closer.
Yes,
Yes.
we'd be going out for lunch, coffee. We'd be
Yes.
hanging out together. And yeah,
Yeah.
we'd even probably get some sticks and we'd teach you how to play with them. And you could teach us how
That
to
would be
hula
so
hoop. And
much fun.
I know.
Yes. That would be so much fun. Now, tell me about that wonderful display behind you.
Yeah, my toys.
Mhm.
My toys. So, just the tools of the trade. The top two are my katanas. So they are, a live blade. Of course, we don't have like the real competition samurai swords, like the one you saw in, what was it, The Bodyguard, where she just drops that silk scarf and it splits. We
Yeah.
don't play with swords that are that sharp. Safety is really important to us in the dojo, but they are live, blades. And so I have practiced and played with those quite a bit. And then, of course, the one underneath it is the boken. It's just the wooden practice sword. And the one below that, and here comes Vanessa into this story. If you'll notice, there's like two sticks there on that rack on that
Mhm.
level. And that is, or was, a 6 foot long, what we call rakshako bow. big stick, 6 feet long. You have all kinds, it's one of our weapons, one of our tools, and they are so much fun to play with. Well, it was one day in the dojo, and Vanessa and I were partnered together. And for those of you who are listening, Vanessa is the only other female black belt that Mark has ever had in the school. And she actually ended up going one level above me. So she
Wow.
outranks me now. Yeah, you don't want to mess with this woman. She's something else. She's 30 years younger than me. I'm the same age as her mom, but she and I were like best friends in the training arena, and really the oddest, strangest couple and friendship you'd ever imagine. But we just got along famously, and we just, great training partner. So anyhow, we're doing this with this big stick. So I was on the receiving end. She was attacking me, and the series of movement patterns ended at the very end with a kill strike to the top of the head. So as she was doing this movement pattern, I'm going, oh my goodness, you could just see her intention rising, and you can see her commitment rising, and her spirit was rising, and she was getting faster and harder with each strike. And I'm thinking, she's going to kill me. And when she came for that last overhead strike, I countered it, with a block so hard and with so much intention that it sounded like a gun went off in the dojo. And all of a sudden I was standing there going, why am I holding 2 sticks?
Wow.
It actually broke the stick in 2.
Oh my gosh. Holy
I
moon
know.
pies.
Holy moon pies. Hey, I haven't heard that one for a while. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that pretty much described it. And so now, instead of having a beautiful 6-foot-long Roshako bow, I have 2 3-foot-long bow staffs with very pointy ends, because it kind of split it and shattered it.
Oh my God.
So thank goodness I was really paying attention, and I was able to block, because that could have been my head.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Wow. And so the training is very intense. As I'm reading along, and I had shared with Cheryl, I don't know if that's something I would be able to do, because I had a lot of physical abuse in my background. So, but if she reassured me, you can do it. You can do it. So
You
it did
could
take a
do it.
physical amount. And you even mentioned that you've had some moments during your training where you were re-triggered
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So then
Yes.
it's been facing your own demons,
Yes.
healing, and the beauty of it at the end, just the beauty. It really, so you guys got
Thank
to go
you.
out and get her book and read her book. I kid you not. Really and truly. Wow. Well, what is, if you can give words to somebody, you've already given many great golden nuggets. If there's somebody out there struggling now, would you have, doing it again, if we could go back in time, would you have reached out to the police? Do you think so? Or would you just, I mean, it is what it is now, but what would you
You
give
know
advice?
what? I'm glad. Thank you for asking that, because I eventually did. And the reason
Okay.
why I did was, it was about a year and a half, when I was really spiraling down after I was re-triggered. And in the book, I do mention that I saw a former client of mine, and consulted with her. She was a pulmonologist turned psychiatrist, went back and did a fellowship in psychiatry. So she's the one who diagnosed me with the PTSD. And she told me to write a letter to a formal complaint to the medical examiner's board. So I did do that. And I asked her, I said, is it going to make any difference? And she paused just long enough for me to know what the answer was. And she finally said, no, but it will appeal to your sense of justice. So I'll have to tell you what happened then. So after I did that, and actually my husband and I were sharing a computer back then. I didn't have my own computer. So as I was compiling the letter, that's when he found out the whole story. And I came home one day, and it was like, are you all right? What's the matter? And he's nothing. I just had a bad day. And finally it was like, are you sick? What's wrong? And then finally I went, oh my gosh, you saw the letter. And then he just, that SOB and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, okay, finally you got it now.
Right.
So after that, and after sending the letter to the medical examiner's board, knowing that, they weren't going to take me seriously, I decided that empowered me enough. And now this is actually still before I started training. It empowered me enough to say, okay, I'm going to call the police and just, file a complaint. And then, of course, it's like, well, why did you wait so long? Well, what are you expecting? Is there a legal action being taken? Blah, 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 blah. And thank goodness they finally says, you need to talk to a woman officer. And I'm like, thanks, I appreciate that. And finally, I said, look, the only thing I want is I want this on his record. So the next time a woman comes forward and complains, there is a paper trail. I don't want anything. I want to be left alone, but I want to know that I have taken some steps to protect somebody else. What if this was your child, your daughter? How would you feel? So, so that gave me enough courage to do that. And it took about 6 months, I think. And I finally did. That's what they said it would do for the medical examiner's board to read the letter and blah, blah, blah. Well, basically, they did, what's it called? They did take some quote unquote disciplinary action against this guy because of the letter. And what they caught him on, or what they got him on, was a billing. Oh, he overcharged. So I get this letter. And by now, my husband's pretty supportive. And I was like, oh, I don't even know if I want to open this because I know they're just going to say, you just made this up. So I'm reading the letter and he's reading it over my shoulder. And I looked at him. I said, oh my gosh, I just got, screwed again. Look at this. And it was like, so they sent him a letter of, I can't remember it's some kind of disciplinary action, a letter, that goes against his he's not going to lose his license or anything. But of course, the entire medical community is going to hear about this, disciplinary action for unprofessional conduct, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'm sitting there looking at this going, I can't believe it. And then finally I looked at my husband and I got a big smile on my face. And I said, I just got a real early Christmas present. It's Christmas in August. And he says, what do you mean? And I said, this is fraud. It's insurance fraud. So the next day I called his office and I got a list of all the insurance providers that he was a provider for. And I sent a copy of the letter as well as, a cover letter, and suggested that they might look at his books and audit his books because this is insurance fraud. And then I also sent a letter to the Attorney General's office as well as the insurance commissioner.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
I have no idea what happened, but I'm pretty sure his office was a mess for a very long time. And I actually did have 2 of the insurance companies contact me.
Oh my goodness.
And one said, there's more to the story. And I says, yes, there is. And he says, well, thank you for letting us know. And we will remove him as a provider.
Good job. Wow. Good job.
So I think even back then, even before I began training as a ninja, I must have had that ninja spirit in me because that was a really sneaky move. And I thought it was brilliant.
That was awesome. Good job. Wow. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Oh, wow. So tell me, we've got all these beautiful links here. We've got your website. Why don't you talk about the Feminine Project? I love the FemiNinja Project. And I've been a guest on there. Thank you very much. But let's talk about that.
Oh, you are one of my FemiNinja all-stars. I just loved having you on the show. So the FemiNinja Project is my podcast, and it's loosely based on my experience as a martial artist. It's about overcoming obstacles, personal empowerment, restoring human dignity, finding your voice, standing your ground, living well, and looking good, alternative health and healing. So I have a variety of different guests. I do have men on the show. I love men. It's pretty obvious. So it's not about, just women only. It's about men and women sharing their stories, and especially sharing stories of empowerment and overcoming to help encourage other people who might be going through a bad time that you're not the only one. And that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And with all of the people I have interviewed so far, I think I'm on episode 168 just went live last week.
Awesome.
So yeah, a lot of people I've talked to and spoken with, but all of them have such positive energy, and a lot of them have really terrible stories, and like yourself, what you have overcome, and providing hope and the path to healing for everybody, because there always is a path to healing.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. There is, there
Thank
is. So
you. Mhm.
please check it out. And you've got you see you're on Twitter, you have a Facebook, you're on LinkedIn. What is it that you cannot do? Oh my goodness, you are just amazing.
I'm really bad at Instagram. I will admit that. I am very bad at Instagram. I'm not really good at doing, like live videos and stuff. I've done a few along the way, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, because I thought, oh my gosh, if I'm going to be stuck in my house for 2 weeks, little did I know, but for 2 weeks, I'm going to, make good use of my time. So I taught myself how to do, like, some live interviews. And my very first Facebook Live, I was so proud of myself. And it was about 4 minutes long, and everything was going along beautifully. And I was just about to breathe a sigh of relief when the phone fell out of the holder.
Oh, oh,
So I found the delete button pretty fast. But so yeah,
oh no.
so those are the things I'm not very good at.
But look at you. Right now you're a pro. That's amazing. That's
Well, I'm
awesome.
much better than I was.
So if anybody would like to reach out, all of her wonderful ways that you can get in touch with her are listed in the comments section. But show her some love. Like I said, get that book if you're looking for a dose of empowerment, encourage, bravery, whatever other awesome adjective that I can throw in there. Really and truly, this one really moved me. It did. It
Thank
really did.
you.
So
Thank
thank
you.
you. And thank you for being brave enough to hit the publish button and to get that story out there. We talked
Yeah,
briefly about that before we started on here.
it was hard.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's out there
you
now. So,
cannot.
but it seems like the genie's doing some good. So I'm very happy about that.
Yes, she is.
And if any of the listeners need a little bit of, cheerleading, you need someone to hold your hand long distance, or, you just want to reach out and say, I'm going through this and it really sucks. I understand. I'll be your biggest, cheerleader. I'll be your biggest fan, your biggest supporter. If anybody's interested in, thinking about, should I get into martial arts? How would I do it? And, you can email me through my website, contact me, on any social media, and I'll just give you some advice about how to choose the right school, so you don't find yourself in a situation where you are actually, might get hurt, either emotionally or physically or
Oh,
psychologically.
thank you. Yes, yes, because you and I never thought about that. So, but reading your book, it really gave me more insight on
Mhm.
looking and just I didn't know there were so many different types of martial arts out there. I really didn't. I never heard of it before. So,
Yeah.
wow, it really opened my eyes.
Ours is definitely an obscure art that is not very well known. Not a lot of people hear about it, but it's a great art. It's so much fun.
You
It's
light
so
up when
much
you talk
fun.
about you do. You light up when you talk about it.
Yeah. It's a fun art. I mean, who knew? I mean, it's just really, this was definitely divine intervention. And I believe that that's the plan. I mean, that was the plan all along. And unfortunately, it had to take a tragic experience, a very
Right.
difficult experience, and 3 years for me to finally say, okay, I got it. I'll do it, but I'm not going to like it. And yeah, somebody else knew better, I guess,
Yes, ma'am. Oh, Cheryl, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on. It really is and has been. So thank you for all the golden nuggets. And thank you all for tuning in and listening again. Give her some love and check out her links. Have a great rest of your day. If you have any questions or comments, throw them in the comment section. Email me privately. Email Cheryl. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll talk to you soon.